What is channeling? In today's episode, we are going to cover what I believe channeling is. This is not going to be a technical definition. This is my own personal understanding and experience with it. So, my name is Serenity Iris. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here and resonate with this content, definitely hit the subscribe button because I'm actually starting a journey where I'm going to be sharing my channeling process with you on the channel for 30 days. It'll be a mix of channeled messages, reflections, insights, and in some cases, stories that people have shared with me about their experiences. So, in today's episode, channeling, this is not necessarily something that's only reserved for a special few who are psychic mediums. Yes, they are tapped into their channel, but I believe that we are all capable and have this capacity to channel. It's just some people have developed the skill and some people just have like a basic level of it, right? So if you're working with colors, you could be drawing with crayons or finger paint. That's amazing. And you could be like a very proficient, professional, incredible artist doing magical things with colors and paints. Same thing with numbers. You might know how to count. You might know how to do some basic arithmetic, adding 2 plus 2. And then there are people who are very masterful with, very high levels within mathematics. So I believe channeling is similar to being in a flow state where you're easily allowing what is wanting to come through you to be fully expressed. It's a different kind of definition, but this is my own personal one. Being having a background in music and the arts, I I used to I used to go to my school in Boston. I went to Berklee College of Music, and I would keep a notebook of subway poetry or subway lyrics. And whenever I had a flash of inspiration, some words that sounded and felt good together, I would write it in my little notebook. Sometimes they turned into songs, sometimes they just stayed as just lyrics or words. And so I didn't call it channeling back then. I was just I was writing some words in my notebook. But now I see that that was a form of channeling. So there are many different forms. So one of my great mentors, she loves to also demystify this thing called channeling because if you're an athlete, if you are, I mean, you could be a teacher, a parent, you could be doing all kinds of things in this world where you are channeling ideas, messages, you're just in sync and in flow. And how do we get into this state? I'm going to cover this in a bit, but it's like you imagine a highway where on a highway it's intended to move a lot of people, cars going in the same direction, really free of obstructions, right? So there aren't like cross streets. It's just okay, you're on the highway until you get off. And so we all have our own versions of a highway within. So let's call this our channel, our pathway. And if our pathway or highway or channel is blocked, like if there's a traffic jam on a highway, there's there's bumper to bumper cars and the traffic is not flowing, the people on the highway are not getting to their destination, right? So similarly with our own pathways or channels or highways, if things are there causing there to be some stuckness or things are stagnant, they're not moving, you're not able to really access guidance or insights, or you're not in that flow state for that full creative expression. And by creative expression, it doesn't have to be that you're a visual artist or a dancer or a musician. Obviously, those are very beautiful examples, very obvious, clear examples of when someone is in that zone, like they're just channeling. It could be you just being in the spirit of the work that you get to do, you being in the spirit of whatever it is, parenting or cooking. Maybe you're a chef and you're just in that zone and you are fully in the spirit of it. We want those channels, those pathways to be open, because it could be there's that divine inspiration. There's that little idea that's like, ooh, what if we try this ingredient? Or what if we try this combination of words if you're a writer? Or what if we try this approach? Maybe you're a lawyer and you're working on some kind of an interesting case, or a doctor with an interesting patient case, right? So you're going to be receiving some pretty great insights. So it's very connected with intuition as well. I feel like channeling is like I was going to call it like a broad spectrum experience of gifts, right? So it's like this umbrella major category of the gifts, right? So intuition is something that most people are pretty familiar with, that hunch that you get, that feeling that you get. Maybe you have the intuition to grab the umbrella even though it's looking really sunny outside and you don't see a cloud in the sky. But for later, your intuition's guiding you, saying, yeah, you're probably going to need that later. So when you get these hunches and when you follow them, when you follow that intuition, your intuition starts to strengthen and it grows. Same thing with your channeling ability. So there are different expressions, delineations of channels, of channeling. So on my channel, my YouTube channel, you will hear and see me verbally channeling. So what is often happening there is I'm getting connected. So I ground myself. I connect upwards as well with all that is the infinite source. We all have our higher selves, our soul. And so oftentimes channeled messages, especially in the early days, were really coming from my higher self. It's like guidance from me to me. But the higher part of me that doesn't have all the limitations, right, of my more human self that navigates the regular 3D world. And so that's a possibility. I guide people through connecting with their higher selves all the time, and it's incredible for business, for their health, for even relational dynamics. So it's very, very powerful. Some people are connected with spirit guides. Some people will be into animal communication, right? They're channeling and picking up on, those like horse whisperers, or those people who are so amazing with dogs or cats. The animals are just drawn to them. They're drawn to the animals, and it's like they're communicating, but without words, and they're picking up on it. So that's a form of channeling. And then there's like, do I even say advanced isn't quite the right word to use, but just different levels, right? So there might be people who are channeling angels and um, different starseed families and different dimensional beings and within different realms and energies. And, there's a whole very wide range of channeling that's out there. I've seen many people deeply connected with their faith, and they are channeling Jesus, right? Or God, or like you can channel the energies and of trees and plants and flowers. So there's so many ways that you can channel, so many things that you can tune into and channel on. So having said that, there are the more not quite yet mainstream, but becoming much more mainstream forms of channeling, which are in the spiritual mystical realms. And then there's like the everyday channeling, right? Which I am also a big fan of, because it's so useful, right? Like if you have a question, lately I've been enjoying, well, okay, I have my list of questions. I'll write it down in my notebook. I'll get grounded, connected, connect with my higher self. Probably my guides will come in as well, my master team. And then I'll just channel on it. I will just tune into it. And the answers that come through are so much better than what I would have come up with on my own. They're clearer, they're usually more eloquent, they're very precise. And sometimes what comes through is not exactly what I had in mind, or it might even be surprising, or it might be something that stretches me. Like there's been a lot of times where guidance, for my business, for example, I was considering, I think I shared this on a different episode as well, but I was considering bringing someone on, a new team member. And actually she was already with me. So I was considering expanding the scope of work that she would do for me. And the guidance that came through was, yeah, you should do that and then some and more. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I even have enough? And can I support that? Can I do it? And so I had this little bit of an inner dialogue, and the guidance was, well, you know how this works. So you make the decision first and then you grow into it very quickly. And that's exactly what happened. So sometimes guidance will, for me anyway, will stretch me. And when I follow it, it works out amazingly. When I don't follow it, it'll just come around again. The lesson will come around again and a little bit louder, more persistent, and it'll feel even more uncomfortable the next time. So I am learning now to trust that intuition, trust that guidance that comes through. And it's interesting. So I do want to touch on meddling. I can tell when I have a question, but I really want a certain outcome. And I have a question and I really want the answer to be this. And when that's the case, I know that I've got to set aside my own opinions and thoughts around it. You know, when you overthink, like I'm a recovering overthinker. I'm much better than I used to be, much, much better. And I really believe it's because my intuition's becoming stronger because I'm developing it like a muscle, right? Like when you work out at the gym, you challenge your muscles and you do so with consistency, and then they grow and you become stronger. So that's the same thing, right? It could be like, it's similar to working with colors, for example. In kindergarten, I was working with colors with crayons, right? Pretty basic level. But you take colors, and there's someone who's really masterful with colors and they're like a professional artist. They're working with colors in a very different way. Or numbers. In kindergarten, I probably knew how to count, and then we learn how to add arithmetic, basic arithmetic. But then there's like masters in mathematics who really know how to work with numbers with different levels of awareness, right? So same thing with our intuition. We can have like the basic level intuition. And if we shut it down, if we close it, if we're kind of spooked out by it or we don't listen to it, then actually it's like a muscle that you never work out. So then that muscle, so if I was always working on my left arm, for example, but never my right arm would atrophy, like it would become so weak. So if you don't use it, kind of lose it, right? And the good news is you can always pick it up anytime and start activating it, using it, trusting your intuition, listening to your intuition, listening to guidance, getting calm and channeling. Okay. So anyway, so we're like tuning in and knowing when I'm meddling is very interesting. When I have like this, oh, I really want the outcome to be this. I know myself now well enough to do the work to really detach from the outcome. And if I really am having a hard time doing that, I'll actually go to friends in the community who are excellent channelers as well, and I'll have them support me because they're not attached to whatever answer that I want. It's just going to come in pure. So that's what I do. That's what I do, and has has been very helpful. And I can also channel on the same thing. And what's cool is when there's the confirmation of, yep, this, you know, you're heading in the right direction. They're confirming basically the same themes, very similar insights. That's pretty cool too. And that's something that I've been noticing among my clients. A lot of people come to me not specifically to learn how to channel, but they want to strengthen their intuition. They want to feel calmer. They want to make better decisions. They want to understand like what's at the root of it could be a physical symptom. It's often like a symptom or a challenge or an experience they're having with their business, or their purpose, their life's work. And so when we get into it, a lot of times the guidance will be channeled. And I also encourage them to connect as well. So we ground, we connect with all that is source energy. And at a minimum, like most people find it pretty accessible to connect with their higher self. And so in the beginning, a lot of people will get flashes of insights, an image, a sound, a feeling, a sensation, maybe a word. It could be a single word. I had someone, we were in a session together. Basically, it was co-channeling. We weren't calling it that. It was a healing session. And she got into a very relaxed, connected state. And what she was tuning into was a message from a physical symptom. And one of the messages was love. And that's exactly what I was also picking up on. I had a lot of details to share with her. Many more words came. For her, it was a single word of love. And that's amazing, right? That's the beginning process. And that's very common, especially when people are starting out. And then it can grow. So in my journey of it, it was about 5 years ago. I felt like I had another kind of awakening. Things were being activated, these spiritual gifts. I was kind of like very interested in spiritual gifts, like the clairvoyance and, all the clairs, and was very drawn to information and people who were very skilled with that. And I recognized that there was some of that happening within me. But it's very easy to judge something that we don't know much about, and often with judgment there can be some fear. So I had both judgment and fear around spiritual gifts and channeling, um, even though I actually had been channeling all these years, starting even before my songwriting days. But when I was a songwriter, also, when I was a naturopathic doctor, seeing patients, especially with hands-on modalities, with both acupuncture and craniosacral therapy, especially, just tuning in to the body, I was able to pick up on all kinds of things. And then, of course, the intuitive knowing. So there were breadcrumbs along the way. I was like, oh, I hadn't been channeling all this way. And I was really drawn to channel books and messages and people, right, who would also verbally channel. But I never considered myself a channel. And so this has been an interesting journey. I've gone through layers of judgment within myself that um, I've gotten to dissolve and shift. And now I see it as totally normal. It's like, well, of course you channel. Of course I channel. Why don't we channel in this? Yeah, it's so much better. Like, why don't we just go instead of overthinking something? Why don't we just go straight to like it's almost like, okay, I'm just formulating this now, like in this moment. I kind of feel like with intuition, it's sort of like there are waves of it where you pick up on it a bit more, like, oh, this thing reminds you of this, and oh, this, you're picking up on a thought or feeling or an energy, versus with channeling. In my experience, it's almost like I could literally pick up the phone, tune into the channel, into that pathway that we talked about, right? The pathway, the highway. I can connect with that, and then ask for, like, I can have a question. I can have a direct question about something. How can I best show up to serve today? What today I channeled on, it was kind of a very simple, okay, what is important for me to do today? I don't always have questions like that, but today I felt like that would be a good one. How can I best serve today? What will help in this relationship I have with someone, those kinds of questions. And then sometimes like very big, broad, important questions around the collective. And those are the ones that I'm going to be sharing more on my podcast. But I feel like intuition, maybe my personal experience of it is that intuition is kind of like, oh, when you get that intuitive download, that intuitive hit, and it's kind of there, and then you kind of pick up on it whenever it feels like, oh, I'm feeling all right. But channeling is like I can deliberately hook up to that intuitive guidance, like you would, if you're like calling someone. Okay, I'm just gonna call and tune into my channel. So, so far that's been my experience of it. I'm sharing my awareness and my perspective. You will get a lot of different explanations and definitions of what channeling is, what a channel is. I like a broader definition of it because I believe that we all channel to some capacity. And when you notice that and you embrace that, and if you are drawn to it and choose to really dive in deeper with it, you can start to exercise that muscle and strengthen that channeling or intuitive muscle. So if all of this resonates with you, at the time of this recording, I have some replays of some frequency activations, and you'll see the link in my description for those. And if you're watching this, a good time in the future, they may not be available as replays, as a free replay, but they are in this moment. So if you're curious and are interested and are feeling called and drawn, and you know and have recognized that you have spiritual gifts, that you have also been channeling, that you want to maybe develop an even greater connection and a more consistent, that's something that I hear a lot, a more consistent relationship with it. So it's like always available. So you're not doubting or wondering, is this my overthinking or is this actually intuitive guidance? That might be really helpful for you. So there's a replay of a free frequency activation, replays of an event that I did with the Collective Council, which you'll be hearing more from. They are the collective of beings who are here to really support us during this time of great awakening, during this time of ascension from 3D to 5D, especially for those souls who know, like that you have a soul's mission and you've come here specifically to be here at this time. So this isn't the frequency activation replay and all of that next level stuff is not for everybody, but if you feel called, definitely check out the replay and you'll see the serenityiris.com/events. At this point, it does take you to the replays, and if we have an upcoming event or a recent replay of a previous event, that's where you'll be able to find it. If you're just interested and want to feel, you're kind of interested in this stuff and you just want to feel better, I would really recommend in the description the vibration shift. I offer a free vibration shift, and this is something that I've been doing for years now with members from all over the world. And it's really amazing. It's very relaxing. It helps you to get connected with yourself. This free one that I'm doing, or that I'm sharing, is pretty concise, so won't even take that much time. And people love it. Every time they check it out, they love it. So that's there in the description. We haven't really talked too much about business, but that is a big part of my soul's mission, is to help you to really be in full expression of your soul's mission. And it might be that you have a business that you're wanting to grow, or you're pivoting from one area into another, and you want some help and support with that. What I would recommend is a free masterclass training that I've shared. It's called the three-part sacred sales system, and it's a free training. I share a bit more of my story. We get into the actual three parts that I had discovered that have really helped me along the way to grow my own businesses and many, many people all over the world. I basically help practitioners, healers, leaders to make more money. That's a big part of what I do. And beneath that, like there's always going to be a level of healing, right? So at the energetic level, physical level, mindset level, and energetic spirit level. So there's a lot there. Check out the website if you resonate. But I hope you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments what form of channeling you most connect with, right? Maybe you're a writer, you're an artist, maybe you're an athlete, maybe you are a lawyer or an accountant or a doctor or a mathematician. We talked about math today. So there are so many expressions of it. For me, in sort of everyday language, it's very much like being in the flow state, right? So if you resonated with this, like the episode, subscribe, and share a comment about what really resonated with you. I really appreciate that. It helps me to know what's helpful to you, so that when I share and show up, the experience is that much better for you. So thank you for tuning in and watching till now. I'm Serenity Iris. And if you're interested, we're going to be starting the 30-day journey. So join me on the 30-day journey. And I'm going to share everything that I've been up to with the channeling, including actual channeled messages, insights, reflections, and beautiful stories that come through. So until next time, I'll talk to you soon.